One of the very first questions that people ask me when they're relocating is, what areas are the safest in Memphis? And I get why. When you're relocating, especially with kids or even just out of state, you're not just picking a house, you're picking where you're going to live your life. So today, I want to talk to you about this in a real way. No fear-based, no dramatic, no clickbait, just how people actually feel and think about comfort, safety, and peace of mind when choosing an area to live in Memphis. Hey, I'm Kaamilya, a local Memphis realtor, and I help people just like you relocate to the Memphis area. And before we get into specific suburbs, I want to be very transparent with y'all. As a real estate professional, I cannot label places as safe or unsafe or rank places in a specific order by crime. And I can't steer you based on protected characteristics. And what I'm really good at is helping people understand how areas feel day to day, which suburbs come up most in conversations, and how people who live here actually move through the city. And I'm also going to share my own personal perspective based on my experiences. Because remember, I live here, I work here, I do things with my children here, and I drive these areas every single day. When most people say safe, they're typically not even referring to statistics. They're talking about being comfortable pulling in their driveway at night, being able to run errands stress-free, seeing kids play outside, feeling like neighborhoods are calm, and feeling like they can actually breathe. And that's real. That matters, because safety isn't just about numbers, it's about how your nervous system feels in those areas. And that looks different for everyone. Some people need quiet, some people need activity, some people want their neighbors out walking, and some people just want privacy. There is just no one-size-fits-all version of safe. I want to share this from my own experience. When I'm out, whether I'm touring homes, grabbing food, going to do activities with my little ones, doing a Target run, or just picking up some food to go, I pay attention to how areas feel. I notice things like, are people outside? Are neighbors talking to each other? Are kids riding their bikes outside? Are people walking their dogs? And does an area feel lived in or empty? And listen, that tells you a whole lot. Personally, there are places in Memphis where I feel completely comfortable running my errands during the day, but some of those same areas, I wouldn't necessarily run my errands at night. And I don't like to be out at night anyway. I'm typically home about no later than 6:30, honestly. And that's not judgment, that's just awareness. That doesn't make an area bad. It just means that time and environment matter. And when you're relocating, you don't always know that yet. So that's why these conversations like this are just very important. For many relocation buyers, the suburbs typically come up because they tend to offer quieter streets, more consistency, strong school communities, parks, sidewalks, and space, and also just predictability. And when you're new to a city, that predictability really feels safe, especially if you're moving with kids or you're just coming from out of state and you don't know anyone yet. So let's go ahead and talk about suburbs that people ask me about over and over and over again. Germantown is probably the most commonly asked about suburb. And when people bring it up, they're usually looking for well-maintained neighborhoods, strong school focus, a structured, organized feel, and a family-oriented environment. Germantown feels very steady. When I'm there in Germantown, I notice the neighborhoods are a lot cleaner. People are out, things feel intentional, and there's just this sense of order. There are also lots of community activities that go on in Germantown throughout the year that I love to participate in as well. Now, it is more expensive than some areas around Memphis, but for a lot of families, that consistency and that order really matters more to them than the price. If you like routine, structure, a very classic suburban feel, Germantown usually tends to resonate. The shopping in Germantown is also pretty diverse, and they have a lot of options for places to shop, whether you're getting groceries, whether you are shopping for clothes, you're doing your maintenance routine things, just lots of different shops and restaurants for you in the Germantown area. Collierville is another big one that a lot of people relocating ask about, especially if they're coming from bigger cities and suburbs that feel a lot more spaced out. People usually look here for newer homes, bigger lots, more space, and master plan type communities. Collierville feels very traditional suburban, quieter, slower pace, and more space between houses. I noticed that people who usually choose Collierville, they typically prioritize space over commute, schools over nightlife, and home life over city life. And they're okay with driving a little more to get what they want. It's not for everyone, but for the right person, it definitely checks those boxes. Bartlett is often a middle ground. This is typically where people land when they say they want that suburban life, but they don't want the Germantown and Collierville prices. Bartlett offers established neighborhoods, close to Memphis still, more affordability, and also a strong family presence. It feels more lived in, more relaxed, less polished, but definitely more approachable. For a lot of buyers, Bartlett feels realistic and comfortable. For people who want more space, a quieter pace, Lakeland and Arlington also sometimes come up. These areas feel more spread out, less busy, and more open. But I always have to remind clients that with that quiet comes much longer commutes. So it's really about trade-offs. Do you want peace and space, or do you want convenience and closeness? And look, there's no wrong answer. It's just all about preference. One thing I always stress, and I mean always, is that there is no one size fits all suburb. You can be in the same city 5 minutes apart and have completely different experiences in each neighborhood. And that's why I always recommend driving the area yourself, visiting during the day and at night, paying attention to those activity levels, and also trusting your instincts. This is especially important when relocating and buying sight unseen. And I'll be honest, Google cannot tell you how a place feels, but your body will. When I work with relocation buyers, I don't start with labels, I don't start with rankings. I start with questions like, how do you live day to day? Do you like quiet or activity? Are schools a priority? Do you work from home? And do you like being close to things or always far away from things? And once I understand that, we narrow down areas that actually make sense to you and your needs. Because the goal isn't just to buy a house, the goal is to feel good where you live. If you're moving to Memphis and trying to figure out what suburb might fit your lifestyle, I've linked below and up here my relocation guide. And if you want to talk through your priorities, your neighborhoods, or options, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see y'all in the next one.